All right, let's talk about Node.js, right? So Node.js is it's basically just an interpreter, a JavaScript interpreter, right, that allows us to execute JavaScript from the command line, right? That's all it really is, right? Typically, when we think about JavaScript, we think of, oh, so it's a language that allows us to execute code on the browser, right? That the browser downloads JavaScript files and they execute inside of the context of a browser, right? And certainly there's plenty of libraries that have taken advantage of this and become very, very popular, such as React.js and Angular.js and many, many others. Yes, jQuery and whatnot. But certainly there's plenty of things that we could do also on the command line at the server side, right? Just consider all the limitations that we have on JavaScript running on the browser, right? When you're running on the browser, you don't have access to a database, right? You don't have access to a file system. You have limited access to the network, okay? Although you do have certainly access to a user interface, right? You can draw things on the screen. You can interact with the user, right? You can have event handlers and whatnot, right? You have access to a DOM. But so the flip side to that is that on the server, right, on the command line, certainly you don't have access to a user interface, right? You have limited access to user interaction and whatnot. Probably that's not the main focus. But you do have access to a database. You have full access to the file system. You have unfettered access to the network, right? There's no embedded browser stopping you from connecting anywhere you want on the network, okay? So it's the same exact language, JavaScript, right? But you have kind of like compensating powers, right? That things that you can do on the client you can't do on the server, and vice versa, right? Things that you cannot do on the client, you can do on the server. Things that you can't do on the server, you can do on the client, right? It'd be great if we could bring both, the best of both worlds, right, and somehow have them collaborate, right, and be able to write applications that have both, right? You have the client side running client-side app JavaScript, and you have server-side running also JavaScript on the other side. Yes? All right? And that's what Node.js has empowered us to do. Okay? All right? So you should already have Node.js installed on your machine. I believe this was part of the first assignment, right, to get your environment up and running. And you should have at least obviously you do have them, right? Because we've been writing, React code and whatnot, right? And that all is written on top of Node.js and NPM and whatnot. So certainly you do have that installed. Two executables that we're going to be interested in from the Node.js point of view are NPM, and we've been using NPM, right, for the last couple of weeks, right, to install new libraries and whatnot. These are Node packages that we've been installing them, right? And as you know, they get installed inside of a Node underscore modules and whatnot. Yes? The other one is that we haven't used very much is the actual Node command. The actual Node command, right? And I mean, we've been using it indirectly, right? Whenever we start a React application, that starts a Node.js server, right, that hosts our React application. Yes? Okay, and does all the transpiling, and it hosts it for us locally, and then it hosts it for us remotely on Heroku. That's a Node.js server. Okay? So we've been we've been taking it for granted, right, that we've been using this Node. So let's spend a little more time. What's happening behind the scenes, right? What's this Node.js server doing? All right, so let's create a tiny little hello world Node.js application just to get you going. All right. All right. So let's see. this is the directory where we're doing all our work. We're going to create a Node.js server application, just like we have a Java server application. We're going to create a Node.js server application. Yes. So let's see how we could do that. A really tiny hello world one of these. So we'll do webdev. Oops. Let's see. We're going to create a directory, make directory, and webdev summer 2 2018 server, and this is going to be node-janunzi. And we're going to go in there. Okay. So we are in that directory. Everybody good? All right, we haven't done anything yet. Okay, so how do we start creating a Node.js application? It doesn't have to be a server application, just a Node.js application. So it all starts with npm. npm, right? npm does a lot of things. One of the things is that it can initialize a project. You can say, create for me a new project. Okay? And this kicks you into a wizard, right? That's going to ask you a couple of things. Right? It says, what do you want to call your project? By default, it'll take the name of the directory that it's in. By default, that will be the name of your project. Okay. Also, what version? You can ask that this is version 1. You can that's the default value. You can change that. You can give it a description. So node server for webdev, summer 2 2018. You can leave it blank. The entry point. This is going to create a package. This is going to create a project that perhaps other folks might find interesting and say, "Ooh, that's a great project. I want to import that." Right? Just like we do npm install somebody else's project. Okay. Well, somebody is going to be able to do an npm install. Webdev summer 2 2018 server node janunzi. He's going to be able to install our project into their node underscore modules. If we care to publish this, right? We're not going to publish it, but you could, right? You could publish this as an open source project, and somebody could import this into their project. Yes, right? We're not going to do that, but index.js would be the entry point to our package. Right? We're not going to do anything with index, but if we wanted, that's where we would put all our initialization for our project. We're not going to do anything with it right now. Test commands. If we want to run test commands, this would also be the JavaScript command that would start it. If this is going to be deployed in a repository, this would live here. Any keywords that folks could be able to find our project if we publish this for folks to use it, if they want to find it. The author, I'll say Jose Annunziato. License. Okay, so it's just going to generate this JSON file. That's all it's going to do. Right? It's a standard JSON file called package.json. We do an ls. Notice that that's the only thing we have in there, package.json. Everybody good? Okay. All right. All right. So let's create we can start off. Let's open this up with our favorite IDE. So let's close this project. Let's close this too, and let's open this package that we just created. Webdev summer 2 lectures node. I think it's this one. There it is. We created and noticed that the only thing we have in there is the package.json. That's all that's in there. Okay, everybody good? So this is the minimalist, the smallest Node.js application. So minimalist that it doesn't really do anything. So let's add something to this, right? So let's create maybe a hello file. So hello.js. So notice it's JavaScript, right? And we could type here just plain old JavaScript commands, right? So for instance, here we could do console.log and say, hello world. Yes? All right, so all the JavaScript commands and functionality is here, except we won't have things such as, this would make no sense whatsoever. Alert. Right? There is no user interface, right? There is no browser to pop up anything. Yes? Right? It would make no sense for us to do something like document dot get element element by ID. That makes no sense. There is no DOM, right? There's no browser, right? So all those are browser specific. Yes, all those commands are not. We don't have any of those, but we do have the full-blown JavaScript language here. Everybody okay? All right, so if we do that, and we go back to the command line, we'll notice that we have the hello.js there. See that? Right? And we can now execute that hello by using Node. Node, what is Node? It's just an interpreter. It's a JavaScript interpreter, just like Java is a Java class interpreter. Right? You say Java and then the name of the class, and it runs that class if it has a main. Yes? Same thing here. You can say Node and then hello.js. It runs, and indeed, it types hello world. Everybody okay? Yes? All right. Excellent. So that's all Node is. Let's do something a little more interesting. Okay. Other than the great language that JavaScript might be, like any other language, it's really not that much interesting until you start considering all the open source community and libraries and extensions that are and modules that are out there. Right? That's where the interesting part happens. Right? The language is really second consideration, but it's really all the community that creates all these wonderful things and makes them freely available for everybody, right? So let's take a look at those, all right? That's what's interesting. So let's leave this here for a second.